Hello everyone and welcome to the Crossover Deep Dive. Today I'm excited to have as my guest Isabella Gueck. Hi Isabella.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. I think most of the artists, I've heard them somehow online, but with you I had the unique chance to hear you first through church. I was just at church and I heard your beautiful voice, so I'm really glad I was able to connect with you and bring you on the program.
Yeah, I'm excited.
So tell me, Isabella, a little bit about how your journey began.
So, I grew up in kind of a musical family. My mom used to sing a lot. My brothers both played piano lessons, and I remember crying in second grade to my mom that I wasn't old enough to take piano lessons at school. So I started there, and then I got into voice lessons and community theater growing up, and I would always sing for special music at church when I was like 5 and then run off stage. And then as I got older, it developed into musical theater more and then into songwriting.
Can you tell us what are some of the early roles you did in community theater? And
I auditioned when I was 7 years old. I auditioned for The Little Mermaid Junior and was convinced I was going to be Ariel.
Aren't we all?
I was Angelfish number 1. And then I did Jungle Book.
Nice.
When I was a little bit older, I did Honk Junior. And then I got my first lead as Alice in Alice in Wonderland in 7th grade, and I thought I was on top of the world.
For sure. So when you were starting lessons, what kind of music were you doing?
I was singing a lot of Disney. Mm-hmm. I was singing Christian music, but not in lessons. I would do that like at church. And I remember specifically loving the song Home from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
Bella's she's my princess because she has my name.
Yeah. And, as you're getting older, is that when you started to do songwriting as well? Or was it just like, you're going in musical theater, you're doing these roles, and then you wanted to maybe speak with your own voice? How did that come about?
So when I was also really little, we have these videos. It's on YouTube or Facebook in the depths somewhere. But I think it's like Isabella Gueck, age 6 years old, writing a song as she goes.
Nice.
And I would make my entire family sit in the living room. And I would just sing blabber at them. And I was writing my own songs, and I thought they were so good. And then I started writing probably in middle school, and I kept it a secret from my parents.
Okay.
And then one day my brothers were like, who can really write a song? Isabella. And in high school, when I started having big girl experiences, I started writing more seriously.
What was it like sharing your first piece? Because I think that must be a very vulnerable thing.
Yeah, I think I knew that I was I thought I was really good.
Yeah.
And I remember being upset with my brothers because I didn't want my parents to think oh, who's this about? Because I was writing these love songs that were about nobody. And so I just remember being nervous to share that with them. Mm-hmm. But I think I've had so much experience with performing live and sharing myself musically. That's something I really feel like I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
It's never been too nerve-wracking, or it's vulnerable, but not
you feel at home on
dangerous
stage.
way. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Well, that's how you know it's a gift, because getting up there, it is terrifying. So if you feel at home there, first of all, that's a good place for you to be.
Yeah.
So you're starting to songwrite, but you're also doing roles. How do you decide, do I want to go on the Broadway stage, or maybe I want to take this songwriting and that to be my thing?
Let me tell you. So in high school, I went to a performing arts school in Grand Prairie, Texas, where we were living at the time.
Yep.
And I had to choose between, they had their vocal music department, which was choir, and then they had their acting department. Okay. And I chose acting because I was certain that I was going to go on the Broadway path. Mm-hmm. And I was writing on the side, and I was auditioning for these roles in these musicals, and I wasn't getting them, and I was so upset. And there were a couple big turning points. So I auditioned for a show, and I really wanted this role, and I knew I was right for it. And it was my junior year of high school. And COVID was happening, and so school was online, and then I was working part-time, and I remember talking about, okay, if I get this show, then I'll have to have rehearsals during work, and I'll have to like cut back my hours at work. And I wrote a song, it's called Lose You. And it was basically about this fear that I was sitting in, that I'm putting everything on the line, auditioning for these roles, trying to get these roles, only to feel like the director is going to cast someone who's prettier or skinnier than me. And that's what the lyrics are. So Lose You, it sounds like it's about like a toxic relationship, but it was really about how I was feeling with my theater directors at the time. I did get that role, and it was very fun, which was cool that I got to like get a great song and then have a good outcome. And then my senior year, I auditioned for Young Arts, which is a nationwide young artist program, and so there's different disciplines. And I auditioned in theater and I auditioned in songwriting, and I was a finalist for songwriting. So I found out that I got to do Young Arts Week, where I'm meeting with all these mentors and collaborating with other high school students around the world who are so talented. And it was at the same time as our LA senior acting trip. And I kind of had to choose, and I was like, okay, I think that I should do Young Arts. And it was the best decision I ever made. I still have connections with some really close friends there to this day that I collaborate with, and I love it so much. It honestly changed my life. And it was the first time I had chosen songwriting over acting. Finished out my senior year, I was applying to like 20, 30 musical theater BFA programs. And I committed to one, and I was like, okay, like I think I like this place. And then we were moving across the country from Dallas to Connecticut. And on the way, I was going to orientation in Alabama. And I went to orientation, and I went, and I decided I was going to take a gap year, and
didn't feel right.
It didn't feel right. And the kicker was I couldn't minor in music technology like I wanted to, and I had to it was like, you have to choose just musical theater and like kind of give up songwriting as an education. And I went, nope.
Yeah.
So I took a gap year. I thought I still wanted to pursue musical theater, but as the year went on, I really dug into songwriting. I got a grant from Young Arts and was able to make my own music studio and
that's so cool.
And producing and stuff. And then I applied to Berklee. I think that was the only U.S. school that I really considered, and then I considered a couple songwriting programs in the UK, and I grappled with it, and I got in, and I grappled some more, and it was the best decision I ever made, and I really love it.
I love that you went on that journey, because I feel like that is such a pivotal point for young artists. College can unfortunately either make you or break you. Some people go into their program and they don't want to ever do music again because it's not the right program for them. And like you were saying with theater, I love theater so much, but it's so subjective. It could be, the male is a redhead and they want you therefore to be a redhead, and if you're not that hair color, you're not going to get the role. And it's so hard to be with that, whereas songwriting you're talking about, you can kind of make a bit more of your own opportunities, right? Because you're making the song for you and no one can sing it like you can.
Yes, and something that I've struggled with, especially like in high school with the certain director that I had, was I felt like my weight was always the
which is awful.
Thing standing in the way.
But
yes, which is like, okay, so only skinny people can fall in love, which is just so not true, and it's so sad. And even in these BFA programs where they're saying they want more inclusivity.
But you see a type of person continually getting
yes, and I think that changes are being made, but it wasn't a battle that I wanted to fight, and I could tell my own stories and touch people in a really deep way, being able to do that through songwriting without kind of going against the grain. The entire time I did theater, I felt like I was moving against the grain. And doing songwriting, everything, not that it isn't hard, not that I don't
the music business
fight,
is hard.
Yes, not that I don't fight for every opportunity I get, but things tend to fall into place. And I feel, after having this journey and this gap year and everything, I'm so grateful for it, even though it was horrible. I'm grateful for it because I have such an assurance that I'm where I'm supposed to be and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing, which I've never really experienced before.
And that translates, right? Your audience can tell if you're being authentic.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, now that you're on this path, do you have any, inspirations that you're looking to, people that have kind of gone the songwriting right, or maybe the singer, that you're looking to them and saying, maybe this is someone that can inspire me on my journey?
Yeah, when I started at Berklee, I think the biggest name that was like in my head was Lizzie McAlpine. She was a Berklee student. She was kind of like into musical theater and then transferred into the songwriter world. And I remember listening to her music and being like, oh, I can write sad songs and people will like it. I used to have this mindset that I could only write like pop hits or else I'd be irrelevant. And so it was really cool to hear this kind of singer-songwriter route coming from a previous Berklee student. And I don't know, I've grown influences since then. I've also really found the joy in writing super fun songs and performing live with my band. And I remember one day I wrote down, they're called song seeds, like inspiration for a song that I want to write later. And it just said, write a fun song making fun of countrymen to have fun on stage with my band. And I wrote a blues, and it's like my favorite song to perform now, and it's just silly and fun, and I love it.
So while I was researching you for this interview, you did a song, and I think you were given a prompt to write like a sad goodbye, and you took it in quite a humorous direction. So can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so right before I moved, I did something called the Music Writers Festival with Rebecca Lowry in Fort Worth. She was very generous and sponsored me to go to this and be able to perform one of my original songs, like musical theater compositions. And one of the guest artists that was there was like one of my biggest musical theater inspirations.
Oh, nice.
His name is Drew Gasparini. I think he's fabulous. And he came up to me and I was so awestruck, and he was like, you're so good. First of all, he was like, don't go to school for musical theater, you need to write. He said to me, you're crazy enough to be a songwriter. And I was like, yeah, I guess. And we had like a mentorship for a little while, and so he gave me a song prompt, and he said, write a sad goodbye or a sad hello or a happy goodbye. And I thought, what is a happier goodbye than waiting for your husband to die so you can inherit his money? So I wrote a song lovingly titled Hurry Up and Die, and it's exactly that. It's very fun. I got to perform it for the Berklee Storytellers Night last November, and it's just a silly little murder ballad.
But like you were saying earlier, you know, what more fun is there to sometimes step into other people's shoes? Like you were saying, you were singing songs that you maybe hadn't experienced at that time, but you had an idea of what it would be like, and you can connect and live that journey through your music.
Yeah, the thing that I love about songwriting is whether it's these silly fun songs or like kind of character things or really heartfelt things, at the core of it, the thing that songwriting does is it creates empathy and just makes you, number one, understand someone else's perspective, number two, feel seen. And that is just like my favorite thing in the world. And I love, like my favorite compliment is when someone says, how did you exactly encompass what I was thinking or what I was feeling? And it's just so cool.
Can you tell us a little bit about your creative process, Isabella? So I know there's, like you mentioned, prompts, things like that, but is it spontaneous or is it kind of like disciplined? I'm going to go and for an hour every day, I'm going to make sure I write something just to keep my skills up.
Woo! So my songwriting, I think my best songwriting is spontaneous. I sometimes will just feel like, okay, this song has to come out, or I have an idea and I have to go sit down and like finish it right away. I usually write a whole song in one sitting when that happens, but being in school and taking these songwriting courses, I've also kind of learned this discipline of having to sit down and write it. So in school, we would get different prompts, whether it be as far as the music or the lyrical content, and it was fun to kind of like play around with those different things. And I wanted to keep that going. So during the month of May, I decided I was going to write a song or part of a song every single day. And I did. And it was exhausting. It was really good. It was a good exercise, and I was happy that I stuck with it to like prove to myself that I can do it. But it did kind of take a little bit of the humanity out of it, my love for it. So that was not a great experience. However, I have been working the past couple months with a new club at my school. It's called Hit Factory. It's run by my friends Luca Alexandru and Miles David.
Nice.
And we basically get together and we will co-write a song and make a demo and record it all in one day and then pitch it to specific artists. So we'll say, we want to write for this artist today. We want to write for this artist today. And that is so fun to be able to like get into the heads of, okay, if I were this pop artist, what would I be writing about? And studying their music and then like creating something based off of that. It's so fun, and I could do that for the rest of my life and be happy.
So you have won various competitions for your songwriting, and people have sung your music. So when they're actually up there performing your music, what does that feel like?
It's really cool. It's so cool. I did a competition. It was called Perfect Pitch, and a student from Berkeley, her name is Joey Madison, sang my song. It's called Walk With You. I wrote it with actually a Young Arts alumni. His name is Kia Shahidi. We wrote it together, and I cannot sing that song. I do not have the voice to sing that song, but Joey did, and she is so insane. And so she performed with the full band, and I got to hear it come to life in the rehearsal process, and it was so cool. Being in the crowd and people not really knowing that it's you is kind of like, you're incognito. It's really fun. And then there was a little bit of a letdown afterwards of like, oh wait, but I want to perform.
Yeah.
So it's bittersweet. It's really cool, and it's something I want to continue doing, especially with, pitching to other artists or writing musical theater compositions. I think it's really special, especially to see someone who can do my song justice more than I ever could. But I also really, really love performing and really feel at home having that in-person connection with people.
And of course, you have a beautiful voice as well. So can you tell us a little bit about your own voice now? Something I've been trying to do through the program is when we're talking to other singers, sometimes we speak in kind of our own language, but other people may not know. So can you tell us like just what your voice type is, alto, soprano, mezzo, and a little bit what that means?
Yeah, so in the pop world, which I have resigned to call myself now.
Okay.
I used to not like the word pop or whatever, but it's who I am, and I do love
music.
it now. Yeah. I love it. We don't really talk about voice parts as much. It kind of blurs the lines. So I love singing these like deep alto songs, and then I'll also go up high and sing like Billie Eilish or Lizzie McAlpine, these kind of higher songs and breathiness. So I don't know. I try to say I'm an alto, and then people yell at me, and they're like, "You're a soprano."
So you're able to use a wide range, and then you talked about breathy. So maybe we'll talk about that for any listeners. Explain how, because you've obviously got the more powerful belter side of your voice, but a little bit like how you think of it. You're also a voice teacher. So when you're going into a more breathy sound, what are some of the things that you think of or you work on?
So having this breathy sound is very popular in pop music these days. You're hearing it in Billie
it's hard
Eilish. To do. Yeah, I suppose so. You hear it in Billie Eilish and Lizzie McAlpine and like Phoebe Bridgers, these new kind of sad artists. And I don't know how to explain it. It's like a lightness. It just has extra air in it. And so you're not letting out a huge supported sound. But rather a more light and airy and vulnerable.
You're going back to your Disney love right there a little bit and getting into that placement.
Yeah, which I love. And I love doing, like I'll hit the first chorus with a light breathiness, and then I'll hit it again a little bit stronger. And it really just adds a nice like musical arc.
I think like a lot of young performers, when I was teaching, sometimes they want to go for the belt right away, but like you're saying, when you actually build that journey, then when you get to that last chorus, the audience is with you and they're ready for that big note to come out.
Yeah, I used to be like that. I wanted to be a belter so bad.
Which is great,
but then you're just kind of yelling at people sometimes.
Yeah, it's that variety, like you said, telling the story, what you're doing through your voice and then through your music. So can you tell us about the single you just released in July? It's called Reckless Summer.
Yeah. Okay. So this song it's different than what I usually write. And Risk by Gracie Abrams had just come out before the rest of her album. And I was like, I love this song. I can't get enough of it. It's so fun. It has this percussive driving acoustic guitar. It has this like punchy chorus going into a post-chorus. And I loved that I couldn't get enough, and I was like, I need to listen to more of her music. and it was all really sad and slow. And I was like, this is good, but this isn't what I want. I guess I'll just write it. So I sat down and I wrote it one day, and it's kind of like writing for someone else when I do that, because it's not like, this isn't a super vulnerable song that I'm writing about my experience, but it's just fun. And like, I've never had a summer fling, but I'm writing about this experience. I liked the hook Reckless Summer. And so I'm writing about this experience of having a fling and being reckless and knowing that it's going to hurt you in the end, but doing it anyway. And it's just fun and silly. And I like sped run the production, and I'm texting all my friends, can you please do this for me so that I can get it out before the summer ends? And then I released it in July, and it was so fun, and it's very silly.
So do you kind of produce it on your own? Do you have friends? You mentioned like you had other contributors, or do you do the mixing? Like, how much of that production are you doing?
Yeah, so I've been working on several songs with my friends. What has been so cool about my production now versus a year ago is, number one, I know more about how to produce. I took an amazing class. It was called Logic Pro for Songwriters with Professor Valerie Orth, and I love her, and I'm taking her again this fall. So I really feel more empowered to be able to do that kind of stuff. And then working with a band, knowing other musicians that I can just kind of send stuff over to and say, this is the kind of vibe that I want, can you do this? Has been so cool. I also took a class that was called Arranging for Songwriters with another lovely professor, and I learned so much about the language that other musicians use, the instrumentalists use. So I was able to kind of articulate, okay, I want you to arpeggiate high here, I want you to fill out this sonic range, and start 4 on the floor, and then blah, 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 you know, and really knowing what I want and having a vision for my song while still giving people the artistic freedom to do what they know how to do better than I could. So that's been really cool. So basically, I'll do like a scratch vocal and then send it out to all my friends, and then they'll come back with instruments and I'll put it all together. And then my friend Miles David, who's wonderful, will help me like mix and master afterwards. And we're just working together and collaborating, which is really one of the sweetest things from being at Berklee, that outside of like the classroom, that has been so wonderful to take advantage of.
And it's so good that you're starting that now, because I feel like sometimes when you're in these focused either theater or opera programs, you get to the end and then you're like, now I need to market myself. How do I put music out? How do I do all these things? And it's a little bit deer in headlights. Whereas you're starting, you have your friends, you're making those connections now. It'll put you in good stead for when you're graduating.
Yeah, I think I used to have this fear of like, okay, well, I know I'm going to be better and I'm going to have access to higher quality equipment later, so I should just wait. And then I don't know. I think what got me is I started performing live and people would say, is this out? And I was like, no. So I'm just working on a few songs. I have another song coming out in a few weeks when I'm with you. And then I'm hoping to release every 6 weeks through like February. Amazing. Just new singles.
So tell us about the new song that's coming out, and then just a little bit what you hope to do in the future.
Yeah, so this new song, it's called When I'm With You. I wrote it with my sweet friend Caroline Molidor during orientation of last year. And we had just met, you know, we had like texted on Instagram beforehand, but we had just met and we were writing together. And man, she is just my partner in crime. She is my best friend and just a musical genius. And everything that I do with her is better than what I could do alone. So I really look back on this song with such like gratitude and just like sweetness in my heart, because I wrote it, it depicts like a young love. And I had this idea of, okay, I'm in a new city, like maybe I'm gonna fall for someone, maybe something's gonna happen, and that didn't happen. But it is cool to look back and see how I wrote this with someone who grew into my closest friend. Yep. And even though I didn't get a romantic relationship from the end of the year, I have all of these really special friendships. The hook is, I like who I am when I'm with you. And it's just special to know people who make you better. Yeah.
And good songs kind of translate. They have multiple levels, multiple meanings as well people can take from them.
Yeah.
So when you graduate, do you have any ideas what you would like to do, Isabella? I know that's a big question and, it'll continue to change, but right now, any things you want to do?
So I've been thinking about a few different things. Because I'm graduating in 3 years instead of 4, I want to try to get my master's. I kind of decided I'm not going to minor in anything so that I can speed run this and then get my master's. And there's so many things I could get my master's in. I don't know. I'm interested in, I want to be a singer-songwriter and I want to be on tour and I want people to know who I am and come to my shows and listen to my music and feel seen and all the cool things. And then at some point I do want to have a family, hopefully.
Yes.
I really love teaching. I'm teaching private voice lessons right now and I love it. And I think that I would really enjoy teaching at the college level. So, maybe teaching songwriting or voice or music theory or whatever at a college would be really cool. So I could get my master's in order to open that up. And then I haven't really looked into it a ton, but there is a part of me that just wants to be a therapist.
Music therapist or like
just a therapist.
Mental health. Yeah.
I love talking to people. I do. So I don't know exactly what that would look like, if that is an attainable career path for me as far as education, but maybe it could be in the cards.
Well, that's interesting because as musicians, we're doing so much interpreting, right? So you have to go into other people's thought processes. So you'd be, seems like innately really good at it, and it'll be fun to see which way you go. But before we end, we're going to transfer. You're going to be singing a couple of songs. So can you tell us a little bit about your friend that's come to play with you today before we listen?
So this is my sweet friend, Ruby DeGorsey. I drag her around for everything. She plays bass in my band. We met at Berkeley, and she's so talented. And she lives in Connecticut. She lives in Guilford. And so I was like, will you play this for me? Will you play this for me? Will you send this to me? Will you do this? And she just says yes every time because I think she loves me. We played a show in June for Bethel Pride, and it was so fun. And I love working with her. So I'm happy she's here.
Well, thank you for being here, Ruby. Thank you for being here, Isabella. And audience, you're now going to enjoy the beautiful songwriting of Isabella Gueck.
Baby blue eyes, losing my mind over the thought of you. Dying inside, eating your lies like I'm convinced they're true. Biding my time until the night you say you feel it too. Making up signs, dreaming of white just like I always do. You say you want me, as long as nobody else sees. And you've got a shelf life in mind, but I could romanticize a summer fling. So if you want a secret, then I could be your secret, baby. Don't have to scream it, no, I just want to feel it, baby. And I know, and I know, and I know, and I know it's bound to end in disaster. You got me chasing after just one more reckless summer. Isn't it sweet in your backseat, fogging the windows up, keeping discreet, feeling the heat, I'm dizzy from a head rush. Now you got me wanting to believe it could be love, knowing damn well I'm just pushing my luck. But if you want a secret, then I could be your secret, baby. Don't have to scream it, no, I just want to feel it, baby. And I know, and I know, and I know, and I know it's bound to end in disaster. You got me chasing after just one more reckless summer. Oh no, it's such a bummer. We couldn't last forever, and I couldn't love you better. I couldn't love you better. You think I'm not so clever, but I know come September, you'll find another lover. You'll find another lover. But if you want a secret, I can be your secret. I know it's bound to end in disaster. But if you want a secret, then I could be your secret, baby. Don't have to scream it, no, I just want to feel it, baby. And I know, and I know, and I know, and I know it's bound to end in disaster. You got me chasing after just one more reckless summer. Oh no, it's such a bummer. We couldn't last forever, and I couldn't love you better. I couldn't love you better, and I know. reckless summer. You can wear your lace-up boots, I'll put on my best walking shoes. I like the way I am with you, I like who I am with you. Take a walk to somewhere new, down Massachusetts Avenue. I wonder how far this street sprawls, if we'll be back by nightfall, or just keep walking till our souls wear thin. Just keep walking till the ground caves in. We don't have to go fast, we don't have to go slow. I think you should know that I'm feeling scared too, but I like who I am when I'm with you. In the east, the evening's cold, been looking for a hand to hold, a light to guide me through this storm, a flame to flicker, keep me warm. Strangers come and strangers go, but you're someone I'd like to know. So tell me please, what's in your soul, and hold me till the space dissolves. We don't have to go fast, we don't have to go slow. I want you to know that I'm feeling scared too, but I like who I am when I'm with you. Just keep walking till the stars retire. Just keep walking till the sky